Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're tackling something huge, maybe the biggest question there is. What if consciousness isn't just, a weird quirk of our brains? What if it's actually the foundation of, well, everything? We're talking about the famous hard problem of consciousness. It's not just how our brains work, the wiring and firing, but why does it feel like something to be alive? Why do we have this subjective experience, seeing red, feeling joy, the standard view, materialism where matter is king? It really struggles here. There's this explanatory gap. How does physical stuff like neurons create the feeling, the inner experience? It seems like apples and oranges.
Exactly. And that's where the ideas we're diving into get really radical. Our sources propose what you could call an ontological inversion. So instead of matter creating consciousness, consciousness creates matter, or at least our experience of it. The physical world, space-time, objects might be more like a phenomenal projection. Think of it like a user interface generated by consciousness. That's our mission today, to really unpack this mind-bending idea and see how it's actually connecting with cutting-edge science.
Okay, let's unpack this because, yeah, it sounds philosophical, but the clues are popping up in physics too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you've got people like John Archibald Wheeler talking about a participatory
Yeah.
universe. His famous line, "It from bit," the idea that reality itself might depend on observation. He suggested things don't really exist in a definite state until we look. Even those weird delayed choice experiments seem to hint that a future measurement can affect a past event. It's wild.
It really is. And building right on that, Federico Fagan, who actually invented the microprocessor, so he knows a thing or two about information, argues that Wheeler's bit isn't just abstract data. Fagan says it's an irreducible moment of conscious knowing, actual meaning. For him, consciousness is absolutely fundamental. It's not something that just emerges from complexity or computation. And if that's true, well, it completely changes how we should think about perception itself.
Right, which leads perfectly into Donald Hoffman's work, his interface theory of perception, or ITP. He uses that great analogy. The world we see is like the desktop on your computer. You see icons, folders. Those icons aren't the actual circuits and code inside the machine, right? They're just a useful interface. Hoffman argues our reality objects, space, time is exactly like that, a species-specific interface. And his fitness beats truth theorem uses evolutionary game theory to show pretty rigorously that evolution doesn't favor seeing reality accurately. It favors interfaces that help us survive and reproduce. So what we see isn't the truth, it's a helpful illusion. That's quite a thought.
It really is. And if you take that seriously, you have to ask, okay, what's the brain doing in all this? That brings us to Roger Penrose and Stuart Hameroff and their or theory orchestrated objective reduction. Their proposal is pretty stunning. The brain isn't generating consciousness. It's more like a highly sophisticated receiver or a quantum transducer. They focus on these tiny structures inside neurons, microtubules. They think quantum events happen there specifically, a non-computable process Penrose calls objective reduction. And these events, they argue, are moments of actual conscious experience, tapping into a fundamental proto-conscious field woven into the universe, maybe even at the Planck scale.
Wow.
So your brain is tuning into universal consciousness, not making its own from scratch.
Wow, okay, a quantum transducer. That completely flips the usual picture.
Yeah.
It makes consciousness primary, like you said. But, for some people listening, this might still sound a bit hand-wavy. Is there any kind of like mathematical structure this could fit into, a more formal framework?
That's a great question. And interestingly, yes. Some sources point towards Eric Weinstein's geometric unity, or GU. Now, GU is proposed as a candidate theory of everything in physics, but it also offers this potential geometry for consciousness being fundamental. The core idea, roughly, is that our familiar four-dimensional spacetime isn't the base reality. Instead, there's a much larger 14-dimensional space, the observer's Y14. Our spacetime, X4, is seen as being derived from it like a projection or an observation, a pullback in mathematical terms. It's like our 4D world is a shadow cast by this much richer, higher dimensional reality, which could be the substrate of consciousness. And what's fascinating is the echo here with ancient ideas like Yogacara Buddhism's storehouse consciousness, the Alaya Vijnana, or Advaita Vedanta's Brahman, the ultimate reality, projecting Maya, the illusory world. It's this idea of a fundamental mind-projecting experience.
So tying it all together, what does this actually mean for us, for how we understand ourselves and the universe? If consciousness is fundamental, the hard problem doesn't really get solved. It just dissolves. It was never the right question, maybe. Consciousness wasn't produced by a dead universe. It is the universe, or at least its source code. The Big Bang could be seen, maybe, as the moment our particular interface booted up. And through us, the universe experiences itself. It's quite a shift.
It's a profound shift. It potentially unifies the objective world of science with the subjective world of inner experience and, dare I say, spiritual insight. Science and contemplation become two paths exploring the same fundamental conscious reality. It gives our existence a kind of depth and meaning that pure materialism often struggles with.
Absolutely. So here's a final thought to leave you with. If our entire perceived reality truly is an interface, tailored for survival, what might it mean to become aware of that interface? Could you, in some sense, hack it or see beyond it? How does thinking about your reality as a conscious interface change how you experience it right now? Something to ponder.